Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hi.
Hello. We're back.
We are back. If I sound super awful this week, I have really bad hay fever. So, I'm quite stuffy. But I'm here. Yay! To talk about Season 4, Episode 8, Wishful Thinking. And I hadn't looked up before I watched this episode who wrote it, and I could have sworn it was Jeremy Carver. I don't know why. There's something about the way it was written. I think maybe the teddy bear. There's something about the teddy bear has a very Doom Patrol feeling.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, that was... I guess the only indication that it was Edlund one was the, like, Superman reference.
Yeah.
That was the main thing that kind of was, like, gave it away. But other than that, I was just like, So I knew who it was directed by from the recap. Like, not even in the intro. The recap was what gave it away.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, really? He went back in and edited the footage to include zooms?
I wrote this because I like the recap, and we're jumping all over the place, but the recap in this episode goes, Cass, Angels, Hell, and then I wrote, Destiel Zoom.
Nice. I was like, really? He went into the editing bay and was like, recap people. There's not enough slow zooms into people's faces. Chop, chop.
I love the Destiel, like, recap zoom. It was everything. I'd, like, go back and watch it, guys. It's amazing.
But yeah, so... I don't know, this episode was... It wasn't even fine. It was just there. It was very much a filler episode.
Yeah.
Very, very much a filler episode.
I mean, you know I normally love Ben Edlund episodes, but this one has never been my favourite. It's always just... I've watched it many times as well, but I don't know, there's just something that just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, there's fun moments, but like you think back to like Monster Movie, that was just fun all the way through.
Right.
This was just like, haha, yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then you move on.
It's
He was having an off day.
Yeah, it's not my fave. It's not my fave. There's a lot of like jokey brother stuff in this. I think it's played quite well, but ultimately doesn't really get us anywhere until the last 30 seconds of the episode.
Yeah. So I feel like Ben Edlund usually can write a pretty good, sympathetic bad guy.
Yeah.
I had no sympathy for this guy.
No, I know.
No sympathy.
I'll talk about it a bit later on, but I really wanted something else to happen in this, and I thought for a moment like it might do it, and then I was like, what am I thinking? This is 2008.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That behaviour is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Ugh. Makes me mad.
Okay, so yeah, let's get into this straight away then. Let's just go through it.
Okay.
So, I guess we kind of already talked through the recap. There's, the Zoom. Just go watch the Zoom, man. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. We open into a showers at nighttime. I don't know how you know it's nighttime. I guess you just presume it's nighttime. And
Yeah.
there's a woman showering, and we see someone appear in the... like behind her in the shower, this guy, and it very much looks like a ghost is stalking her. I think it was quite the way it was shot, the camera angles that they used, but they were clearly trying to do like Hitchcock's Psycho.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did that. I wrote those same notes as well.
Good. So that obviously like came across quite strongly. And this woman, you know, she's going about doing her business, like unwraps her hair from the towel, etc. And I did like the way they did these effects, like the hand wiping through the steam and the like wet footprints on the floor. I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I guess it also kind of gives you the idea that it's maybe not a ghost. I don't know. We have seen those things from ghosts before, though.
I think for me it was like the hand wipe could be ghosts, but the footprints, I was like, you don't really see footprints from ghosts.
Yeah.
Not in this way. One thing that kind of threw me off, she got really dry really quickly. Like, she walks out of the shower, you can see like there's droplets on her shoulders and arms.
Yeah.
And she's just wrapped the towel around her, and then like suddenly her like arms are just instantly dry. I'm just like, I don't know why that drew me out so quickly.
Maybe dry.
Dumb.
Yeah.
This is really dumb. And I was just like, you hung up on the wrong details, woman.
So, yeah, you know, she sees this guy in the mirror, I think, and then turns around and he's gone again. I think he appears in the mirror to her. And is shouting out to her, like, Mrs. Armstrong, Mrs. Armstrong. I got the idea that, like, is that supposed to be his teacher?
Yeah.
No.
That's what I understood, yeah. Also, she turns around and, like, throws a towel, like, her hair towel.
Yeah.
To, like, put it in, I guess, in the laundry basket. And it catches on him, so she realises it's a ghost and, like, she runs away.
Yeah. No, I do remember that.
I mean, I guess it could be a neighbour, though, as well, because, like, if you're a younger, like, a teenager and you only know your neighbour by their, like, last name.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine it was a teacher, which is really creepy.
It's super
really, really
slimy.
creepy.
I know. We know.
It's not okay.
Have you watched that movie in The Invisible Man? Is it Invisible Man with what's her name in it?
From Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah.
I haven't. I've heard really good things about it, but
good.
like, I live alone. I don't want that kind of like imagery to be just floating around in my mind. But I mean, not that I have any psycho genius exes, so.
It's worth watching. Maybe I'll get you to watch it with me or something when we work together. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. But this was not that.
No, this was definitely not that.
No.
It was just this creepy kid being a... Ugh. Yeah, I think it was... This sort of set the tone of the episode, and I just didn't... I wasn't here for it.
Yeah. It was just men being creepy all round, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
Just the whole theme.
The only guy that was, like, not creepy in this episode and, like, respectful was Sam.
Yeah, I agree.
He took the high road for, like, everything. That was the beginning of the episode, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
We're in it.
We're in it. This feels like a Robert Singer episode, to be fair. And it was. So we're in a bar, and we see this table, and there's like a line of 3 shots.
Yeah.
And Dean just does one after another. And Sam's trying to get Dean to talk about what Uriel had said at the end of the last episode. Why would Uriel say that you remember stuff from hell if you don't?
Maybe because he's a dick.
We've established that angels are dicks with wings.
Yep. Very strongly established that.
As they're sort of trying to have this conversation, their like very, very cheerful waiter comes over and it's like, hey, Radical, can I help you out with anything? And they're like, no, we're kind of trying to talk here. He's like, okay, I'll be back. And it's very TGI Fridays before.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been to a TGI Fridays in a really long time, so I don't know if they still have all the like button, like the pins and stuff.
Not in the UK, they don't. Like, but I was just thinking, like, why are you guys trying to have a very serious conversation in the TGI Fridays?
I mean, it's either the TGI Fridays, a car, or the motel room, and Dean can't really drink in the car. He'll get more judgment in the motel rooms. It's
like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
No. So weird. So yeah, the waiter is just sort of, like not really leaving them alone, not really picking up on cues that he needs to leave. Mm-hmm. Eventually he goes. Sam's like, okay, fine, you don't remember anything, but look me in the eye and tell me you don't remember a thing from down under. And Dean pauses and then repeats exactly what he says. And Sam's very, very, very doubtful that this is true. And then the waiter comes back. He's like, I guess they can do a phone call to interrupt their conversation. So they're just like, overbearing waiter. Like, I don't feel like this happens that much anymore. I guess because like COVID happened and anyway, I don't know.
I've been rushed. Like, I've been rushed through a meal like this where it's like, oh, hi guys, drinks? Yeah, drinks. Like, here's your beans. Okay, bye. Take the check. Right, see ya. And you're like, no, I want that Like, I wanted to sit down. This does happen. But again, like, don't choose the TGI Fridays to, like, I don't know, have a conversation about hell.
This is true. I mean, is that a metaphor?
I mean, maybe this is... I mean, we're saying TGIs, but, like, in universe, this would be a Biggersons, right? And what is Biggersons if not a liminal space? So, like, maybe they've chosen the best place to have a conversation about hell.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. So the waitress going to go get their check. Sam's like, okay, well, fine. You know, he accepts that Dean's not going to talk about it and decides that, okay, we'll just try and find a case, or not find a case, but there's no signs of demon activity. But Sam finds sort of other possible supernatural things, but it's mostly like hoax and stuff. Apart from up in Concrete, Washington, there was eyewitness reports of a ghost haunting of the women's showers in a health facility, and Dean chokes on a beer, and it's just like,
okay, whatever, Dean.
Yeah. He closes the laptop, like, because Sam hands him the laptop to, like, look at the article. Dean closes the laptop and is like, yeah, okay, let's go. We're on this case.
I can see you're very interested. Women, showers. We gotta save these people.
Like, it's just so... The characterization of Dean this season has been all over the place. I will say this about season 4, I feel. Because when he got back from hell initially, he seemed a bit more... I don't know, a little bit more serious. And it's almost like, maybe it's not out of place. It's almost like he's playing a parody of himself, right? I think this is what a lot of season 4 is, because he's like, okay, I came back from hell and lost my whole identity. Who's Dean Winchester? Oh, that's right. He likes booze, women, and fast cars. So, you know, I'm going to play into that. And it has been this whole season, where, you know, there's a lot more, I guess, sexism on Dean's part, a lot more drinking too.
Yes, we see that in this episode.
A lot of that in this episode. And I don't really feel like it ever gets addressed that he's basically just, at this point, playing Dean Winchester. Like, he's
very much white-knuckling it right now.
Yeah. He's just being who Sam expects him to be. I think, which is interesting.
It is kind of it because during season 3, Sam was trying to be Dean Winchester, and Dean didn't like that, and now he's come back and he has to act basically in the same way that Sam was. Yeah, he's less brutal than Sam was in his like rendition of Dean Winchester. Yeah, but like playing fast and loose. Is the trend. So it'd be interesting to see if Dean... This is the problem with Supernatural. I don't know if Dean ever finds his kind of who he was before hell again. That kind of like happy-go-lucky kind of side to himself. I don't think he ever gets that back, because it does often feel like an act. I think there's glimpses of it occasionally, especially in some of the later seasons. Kind of lost a bit of that burden, maybe. But I don't know. It's like, the thing is, it's like, it's supposed to be funny. It's like, oh, this character just likes, you know, just likes naked ladies. And I'm like, no, this is a deep character analysis of how actually it's all a facade. I hope Ben Evans proud of me. That's all I want. You know what's really funny? Like, for all of his talk of like naked ladies in this episode, like, or like, you know, wanting to help these women, he doesn't interact with any women in this episode.
Not at all, no. Like it's an act.
I have to say, the location that they chose is a really pretty place, like with the mountains and the like snow-topped. It was really pretty. Like, they did some really nice shots of this town. It also reminded me of Red Sky in the Morning, like that same kind of seaside town.
Oh yeah, I got more like lake. I had a big lake rather than like it was by the ocean or the sea.
being Washington, it probably more than likely is going to be by the sea.
I don't know geography.
But there are lakes, so it could be.
Yeah, my brain's too full of supernatural to know where things are in the world.
You should know exactly where things are in the world then, because Supernatural's about driving all across America.
Yeah, in like places that all look like Vancouver.
I don't think this looks like Vancouver, but I went when I was a child, so I don't really remember. It could be Vancouver, Washington, because there's two places called Vancouver, and they're not that far apart, which is like the worst.
So like, how are you expecting me to learn when like two places are named the same? The system's stupid.
They're driving down the street, super nice shot, and they like pull up in front of a Chinese restaurant, and Sam is interviewing the woman whose name is Candace, and she's very much like an airhead, and I didn't get that impression. I don't know.
I don't know. She's like she's very into the ghost stuff. She's spiritual, which is fine.
Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but she's like, oh, I'm not surprised that the spirit chose me as their contact. Mm. And Sam's like, yeah, I sense that about you too. Like just playing into like her story, like just trying to get her to talk.
Yes,
like
great.
He's not flirting with her at all in any way. And then Candace is like, so what was this book that you're writing? And
well, the working title is Supernatural.
Which, like, do you think this is when they're like, oh, we should do something like this? Moment.
This threw me for a loop, man. I didn't remember this line was in here, and I was like, oh my god.
He literally just described the show, because he's like, the working title was Supernatural, and yeah, we've been crossing the country gathering stories like yours. It's like, this is exactly what
I know. I loved it so much. This is amazing. Yeah, that made me laugh out loud. Like, I was literally like, I went, when I watched. Yeah, I mean, it could be there where they got the idea from. Who knows? But if we can give that credit to Ben Edlund, like, go for it, whatever.
Yeah, he deserves all the... I mean, we already know he's a time traveler, so...
This is what I mean, like, it was the time traveling that gave us this line.
Sam's also distracted by, like, another couple at a different table, and they're, like, noisily making out. It's gross, I hate it. Candace continues to describe her encounter. She was chased by the ghost. She fell down some stairs. Her arm is in like a sling, where she'd maybe like sprained or broken her arm. And she tells Sam that the ghost kept saying, Mrs. Armstrong, Mrs. Armstrong. Mm-hmm. And that was really strange that like it wasn't a particularly violent ghost, because when she fell at the bottom of the stairs, the ghost tried to help her up. Mm-hmm. The ghost said, please don't tell my mum. Mm. Sounds like that's weird. Dean reads a lot of newspapers in this episode.
Yeah, he does.
Like, more than usual. He's outside the fitness center, which is supposedly haunted. And it says on here that a local man had just won 168 million in the lottery.
I have one issue with this scene, and I don't know if I'm just really being pedantic, but I swear the building where he is sat outside is like a wooden cabin bungalow.
That's what it looks like to me too.
This woman was like, supposed to be at this fitness centre, right? Mm-hmm. And she said she fell down the stairs.
Mm-hmm. What stairs?
What stairs?
Unless we can't see the back of the building and like goes down.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing like one of those buildings where like you enter basically on the top floor and everything's...
Yeah,
like,
maybe. But it was like...
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I really thought, I was like, what stairs? Okay, fine. Anyway.
Yeah. So Dean then says, like, there was no EMF in the showers or anywhere. The house is clean.
I'm so confused by this. Was it her house? No, it's fine. Whatever. Just let go. I'm like...
Yeah. We'll change out house with building and we'll move on. Sam's like, well, yeah, I kind of get the feeling that she wasn't really pushed. She just fell. Mm-hmm. Dean says, I got to tell you, I'm pretty disappointed. Just because he wanted to save some naked ladies. It's just like, you can still save women, Dean. They don't need to be naked. You can still save them. Anyway, as they're like walking back to the Impala, presumably, we see these three bullies and they're chasing this little boy. Dean doesn't help the situation. He calls the little boy Forrest. He says, run, Forrest, run. I don't know why every time someone's running, they have to say this. It's just like, all right. Okay.
I love this a universal thing because it happens in the... it happens
It's
here
everywhere.
too. I know. Like, literally. My granddad used to do it to people. Like, he would literally, like, we'd be driving past and we'd see someone jogging and he'd roll down his window and, like, shout, "Run, Forrest, run" at them. And it's like, why? Why do you feel compelled to do this? I feel like it must be dying out now.
Yeah. Yeah, like, the reference has been diluted, I think.
Yeah.
So, like, people would know to say it because of things like this, rather than know it's from Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, this brought up, like, some childhood memories for me, and I'm like, oh no.
It almost seems like they're kind of giving up on this case. Like, they can't really figure out... Things are weird, yes, but they can't figure out what it is. So maybe it's just a fluke. But as, again, they're walking, they see these two men who are arguing. I didn't catch what the guy had said, but apparently something grabbed him from behind and threw him into a tree, which makes sense for why there's a cut on his head. But I didn't catch that at all. I was like, what? Basically, it comes down to that, like, it's Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot.
Gus, which is the guy who's talking to the police officer, saying there's a Bigfoot in the area, which I guess is why it's set in Washington, because it's supposedly where Bigfoot is supposed to be. Sam and Dean say that they're FBI and, like, try to get explanation, and they ask for where this sighting happened.
This is so implausible. They're literally just like, this guy's talking about Bigfoot. And then, like, the sheriff's like, no, Bigfoot doesn't exist. What are you talking about? You're, like, crazy. It's literally, like, these two lumberjacks rock up and, like, FBI, we're here to talk to you about Bigfoot.
There are a lot of, like, suspension of disbelief going on in this. Yeah. It's wild. And so they go tracking in the woods, and they're like, oh, you know, every hunter knows that Bigfoot is a hoax. Like, it's a known thing in their community that Bigfoot does not exist.
Well, this is a rehash from when Dean was talking to Hendrickson in the police station, because even then he was like, not Bigfoot though, Bigfoot's a hoax. So I really like this canon, like, establishment that for some reason they decided at the beginning of Supernatural, like, Bigfoot's too far. Like, we're not going to do Bigfoot because Bigfoot's a hoax. I'm thinking about it, they never did Bigfoot, which is such a shame.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
It must be a nod to X-Files, because X-Files did a Bigfoot episode. In my opinion, it is a terrible episode.
Yeah, because, like, how do you do Bigfoot, really? How do you do it that's not in a jokey way?
Like, I think it was, like, in the X-Files, I've watched this a few times, where basically there's, like, a group of prehistoric people living in the woods, but they're really, like, they're covered in hair because they're, like, Neanderthals, like, early evolved humans. So they look like Bigfoot, and ultimately, I think Mulder discovers them and he manages to, like, see them in their natural habitat, and he's like, this is amazing, and then ultimately decides not to tell anyone to, like, protect them.
So basically what you're saying is that there's like, in the Amazon rainforest, how there's these villages of, like, people who've never seen technology and stuff like that. It's basically that.
I think it was
with
just
big feet.
like in Washington.
Yeah.
I think this maybe was in somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Like, Mulder knows Bigfoot exists, but didn't tell anyone. Which is most of X-Files, to be fair. He finds out something exists, and then either Scully doesn't believe him or he doesn't tell anyone. So maybe they think Bigfoot's a hoax because of Mulder. I mean, we know X-Files exists in canon. Yeah,
That's true. That is very true. And, you know, as Dean's sort of talking about how this is a hoax and, like, maybe there's, like, drugs in the water that's making everybody crazy, they come across a big footprint.
I was like, oh, that's some big feet.
Yeah. You know, in Dean's mind, he was making a dick joke.
Oh, yeah.
So they follow the footprints, and it leads them to a destroyed liquor store.
Yep.
Dean just steals a bottle of whiskey. Just as they're walking through, he just casually picks one up and just puts it in his pocket. Sam says, hey, check this out, because we have to have at least one. And the entire porno rack has been swiped clean.
Yep.
They have a really funny, like, sibling moment, because they come out the liquor store, there's a bench, And they both sort of look around and sit down at the same time and do these kind of weird, like, not pensive expressions, but like, we are thinking.
Yeah.
We are thinking about this case. How do we show we are thinking? And as they're thinking, this little girl on a bike drives by and like a porno mag like falls out.
No, this is like too perfect. Like, I don't know what the camera... Basically, she drives past and you see like a gust of wind perfectly kind of take this porno mag and like twist it through the air to land at their feet. Like, it was... I don't even know what that was.
It was very like a very fairy tale esque.
Yeah.
And Dean's like a little young for the magazine. They sort of follow where she had gone, and she's gone to the back of the liquor store, written like a sorry note, and returned all of the like items to the shop. And they decide to follow her home, which is kind of creepy, but like I guess so.
The shot of them like looking around. There's so many comedic moments in this. There's like, as they're watching her put down that basket, their heads appear from behind the wall. Like, again, like Scooby-Doo-esque, like behind the thing. I love that so much. I can't remember which one's, like, I need to watch it again. Is Sam still the taller one in that? Because it'd be really funny if he wasn't.
I don't remember. I also have to go back and look. I hope he's not.
I hope he's not too. I hope they did that on purpose. One other line that really, I don't know, it stuck out to me for some reason, is when they're looking at the type of liquor that got stolen. With Dean says it was like amaretto and Irish like cream.
He's a girl drink drunk.
It's pretty great.
I can relate to that. Like, I love that so much. I feel like Dean gets girl drink drunk. That's really hard to say as well.
Well, we know he does, because he does like a purple nurple.
Exactly. And like the little cocktail umbrellas.
Yeah, like no shade to anybody who wants a quote unquote girly drink. They are good. It's sugar that makes you drunk. Who doesn't want that?
Also, they are very strong.
Exactly.
You come see me after 3 daiquiris compared to like your 3 beers. You drink your weird like wheat water.
Exactly. Like, you're going to be spending like just as much to get the same high, or not high, but same drunkenness. You might as well like enjoy the taste as you go along, surely.
Exactly. I don't know, but I just thought it was funny, so I was like, Dean, you are a girl drink drunk. Let's be real.
Absolutely. So they approach this little girl's house. Her name is Audrey. Sam's like, hey, are your parents home? And she's just casually like, no. Dean starts to sort of describe if he's seen this like really, really furry. And Audrey interrupts him and says, is he in trouble? Because she clearly knows what they're talking about. Sam says, no, we just want to make sure that he's okay. Audrey is adorable. I love her. She was like the best character in this entire episode. Because she's so like, she's just really trusting and just so really sweet about everything. She says, he's my teddy bear and I think he's sick. And Dean's like, oh, we're teddy bear doctors. We can help. So she lets them in and they go up to her bedroom and she says, he's really grumpy. She knocks on the door and says, Teddy, there's some nice doctors here to see you. It's like, this line kind of reminds me of what an adult would say to her. Like, hey, you're not feeling well, that there's some nice doctors to come see you to make sure you're feeling better. So it's like, oh, I just want to give her a hug. She opens the door and if this was on HBO, the bear would tell her to F off, but she says, close the friggin' door. Mm-hmm. And she's like, see what I mean? And Sam and Dean look at each other like, what the hell was that?
Oh man, I hate the depressed teddy bear so much. It's just so...
I mean, it's a warning for like, don't do this. Like, don't sit in a room alone with the news on with porno and alcohol. Like, it's not gonna work out well. Yeah.
And then, like I said, I've got like weird Doom Patrol vibes from this episode. I feel like Teddy and Robot Man from Doom Patrol are very similar characters. And this is why I thought that Carver had written this episode, because they're basically the same character, like in their mannerisms and stuff. It's anyway, I don't know. I watched Doom Patrol recently, so maybe that's why I'm making that connection. But I mean, it was quite funny.
Maybe it's like the inanimate face.
Yeah, maybe. And like the idea that like probably this teddy bear can't like feel anything, right? So like trying to get drunk or whatever, because it's just full of stuffing. I don't know. Giving consciousness to a inanimate object, to like the ethical implications. I don't know. Getting way too deep with it. So we see Audrey outside the room, and she explains to them that all she wanted was her teddy bear to be big, real, and talk. But now she said he's sad all the time. Not ouch sad, but ouch in the head sad. I was like, oh. Says weird stuff and smells like the bus. Which, we all know what the bus smells like. Dean asks her, like, how did your teddy bear become real? And she said that she wished for it, and explains that she wished for it at the wishing well. Dean goes back in to, like, look at Teddy. He's kind of watching all the terrible news stories and things going on in the world, and drinking, and basically having a massive existential crisis of like, why am I here? Why do I exist? Kind of like the butter robot from Rick and Morty. It's exactly that too, isn't it? Like, why do I exist? It's like to get the butter. It's like, oh. Because Audrey says, like, you're for tea parties. Like, she wanted him to have a tea party with her. Sam and Dean just sort of look at this and just walk back out and close the door. Like, they don't know how to deal with it. They have a kind of an aside from Audrey, and I love this conversation.
It's so good.
They're like,
it's so good.
Should we, are we gonna kill this teddy bear? How? Shoot it? Burn it? I don't know.
Burn it? Again, fire.
Fire, yeah.
And Sam's like, both? I don't know. And, you know, Dean basically says, like, if it doesn't work, we're just going to have, like, an on-fire teddy bear, like, angry at us. But Sam kind of stops this line of thought and says, like, this isn't the main problem. This is, like, something else has happened here. We need to find something else out. And asks Audrey where her parents are. And she said that they wish to be in Bali, so they're probably there. And Sam's so good with kids too. Like, I love this because, you know, he basically says, like, your bear is really sick, actually. It's got, like, and I love Dean's, like, immediate, like, lollipop disease. He's been thinking about this one. When they first said they were teddy bear doctors, he's like, right.
Yeah.
They're between Sam and Dean, they convince this little girl to go stay with her neighbour down the road because the bear is contagious. And then ask her where the wishing well is. So, I mean, Audrey was super helpful in this episode. I will say one thing. She has, like, little pigtails in that has a hairband that has, like, clear dice on them. I definitely owned them.
I think most people do.
Yeah. So they go back to the Chinese restaurant that Sam was talking to Candice at. They see a little boy throw a coin into a fountain and leave. They kind of contemplate whether or not this is going to work. And Dean's like, well, I'm going to try it then. He throws a coin into the fountain, doesn't tell Sam what he wished for, but then a guy turns up with a foot-long sandwich. And Dean's like, yeah, his works. They sit down at a table. Dean's eating his, like, massive sandwich, which actually, it doesn't sound great. It's like, I don't like jalapenos, so fine.
No.
Yeah. Dean says, like, making people's wishes come true, kind of a douchey thing to do. Again, I don't know why there's been a few, again, with, like, Ben Edlund episode, where I'm surprised they don't immediately go, oh, is this a trickster? And then kind of rule it out. Because this is a Gabriel move. Like, this is...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He would do this. They decide that they need to stop people from wishing before they can figure out what's going on, but get interrupted by, I presume, the owner of the restaurant, saying that they don't allow outside food. Because Dean's, like, eating this huge sandwich. Dean's like, well, I'm not going to eat the food here. We're from the health department. And he has this whole bit where he's, like, getting out different IDs and, like, looking at them to, like, find his health department one. Like, it's the most suspicious thing I've ever seen. Because he convinces this guy there's rats in the restaurant.
Code 56C, like, just making it up.
So weird.
Maybe the guy isn't the owner, it's just a waiter, because I feel like you would know, well, maybe not. I was going to say that you might know like the health codes that they're talking about.
I don't know. He seems so invested in them keeping the restaurant open. I'm like, I just imagine that he owned it. Like,
yeah, more likely.
So we cut to them. They've drained the fountain. There's loads of coins in the bottom. There's a big plaster Buddha on the top of it as well. The owner is still with them. So he's like, no, go. Leave us to our investigation. Like, they have a little conversation here because Dean asks Sam if he's tempted to make a wish. You know, Sam's like, no, I don't trust this to make a wish. Mm-hmm. And Dean says to him, like, well, think, if you could wish yourself back, wouldn't you? You know, you could be some big-time yuppie lawyer, have a nice car, white picket fence. And Sam's like, no, that's not what I'd wish for.
Not what I wish for. Seriously? It's too late to go back to our old lives, Dean. I'm not that guy anymore.
And Dean's like, okay, what would Sammy wish for? And Sam says, Lilith's head on a plate, bloody. It's like, all right, Sam.
Yeah.
Edgelord.
Calm down. It really is an edgelord moment. I know, there was something about that I was just like, would you though? I think he wants the satisfaction of killing Lilith.
Yeah.
I don't think like having a wish for it is not going to be the thing to go. I'm actually really surprised that Dean actually made a wish, considering he has had like the Jinn situation where like the sort of wishful life definitely didn't come true for him. And like, I mean, yeah, we've spoken about it, obviously. He's all for it. I guess he's like, oh, what harm could a sandwich do?
I think that the sandwich was part of the like, okay, this is fine to use it. Well, I don't know. I think he's trying to get something out of Sam here. It seems like a kind of interesting conversation. It's kind of like what if you won the lottery kind of conversation. Like, we're not going to do it, but like, what would happen if we did? I do think Dean is surprised that Sam doesn't regret all the hunting and everything. But he doesn't anymore. Sam doesn't. No. He's fully on his revenge track. Like, he's content with that to happen.
Yeah.
It's Dean who wants to go back, right? He wants to go back before everything else.
Definitely before hell, for sure. Mm-hmm.
They see at the bottom of this fountain this old weird coin, and they try to get it out. It's really funny. Like, Dean's trying to get it, and they can't pick it up. And Sam says, "Lift with your legs." It's just like, so snarky.
You weakling.
There's a whole little montage of them going away, getting a crowbar and a mallet and coming back, and the owner's like, what are you guys doing? They're like, no, we're the health inspectors, we do what we want, essentially.
It's a 1416, 4416. I was wondering if that's like a reference to maybe like the size of the crowbar or like the weight of the sledgehammer or something like that.
That would totally
like a 2x4 is like a piece of plank of wood. So I was like, I wonder if he just used like the measurements of
the crowbar. Yeah. So Dean tries to get it out with the crowbar and the hammer. The hammer breaks spectacularly and nearly hits the owner, like really close to him. And it's only at that point that Sam says, "Coin's magical." Like, did he really think that Dean wasn't able to pick up this coin until that point? Like, Sam, during this whole sequence, didn't try not to like verify this at all. He was just like, oh no, Dean must be doing it wrong, I guess.
What's really funny though is like it still could have been welded.
Yeah.
Just because he couldn't pry it off with a sledgehammer and a crowbar doesn't mean it's not welded.
There's no reason why they conclude it was magical, but fine. Sam takes what is the worst rubbing of this coin of ever. Like, it had no detail of what it actually was. He just so quickly did it and then handed it to Dean and was like, here you go. And it was like the crappiest.
It's like, why would they have cameras on their phones?
They do, you're right. Why would you do that?
Why would you make a terrible rubbing of it?
I don't know, Annabelle. So much this episode I don't understand. So that they split up anyway. Dean's sent off with the coin to go research that, and Sam goes somewhere else. And he just says, something's occurred to me. And then it does this cut to a blonde woman in the shower, the same one from the beginning of the episode. We see the wet footprints. And then Sam just grabs this invisible teenager and was like, what are you doing?
And he's like, don't worry, ma'am, I'm the health department. Like, as if that makes it any better that this giant of a man walked into the female showers.
I feel like he used the health department thing so much in that restaurant and it works so well. He was like, this is my go-to now. Yeah. If anyone ever questions why I'm here, just I'm from the health department. So Sam confronts this invisible teenager and says like, what, you can turn it on and off then. He's just like in disbelief. Sam's like, you actually walked up and you wish you could be invisible so you could spy on women in the showers. And Sam's just like, go put some pants on, stay visible.
My question is, why is it this way around? Surely if anybody would catch this, it would be Dean, because I feel like, well, we already know that Dean wants to creep on naked women in the showers. Like, wouldn't he be the one who'd be like, hey, wait a minute. I mean, I guess he didn't get to hear all the details from Candace, so he wouldn't have been able to make that connection, I guess. This is where I'm saying, like, Sam is the one that has, like, the moral high ground in this episode, because, like, he didn't make any wishes. He chastised this, rightly so, this boy on being an absolute creep.
I mean, you know what else he did? He did them a favour by not sending Dean into the women's showers.
That's true.
Because he's been so creepy lately.
That's true.
That this was a moral high ground thing. He was like, I figured it out. I'm not telling Dean because he doesn't deserve it. He's been too weird about women lately.
Yeah, and if anything, he'd probably be like, Dean would sympathise with this kid.
Oh gosh, he'd make some kind of... No, I'm glad this was Sam. I don't want to see that interaction. No, the way they're writing Dean at the moment, I don't want to see that interaction.
There wouldn't have been any punishment.
It would have been something like, if you want to see naked women, do this instead. Or like, just something like that. Some kind of like dude bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hate it. We go out to the street and we see this tiny kid. He's so tiny. Yeah. Chasing the bullies that were chasing him earlier. And stops and turns to Dean and was like, you got a problem, mister? And Dean's just like, no. He looks so scared of this tiny kid. He's like, no, I don't have a problem. And then his stomach starts making like interesting gurgling noises from the sandwich, presumably. As Sam turns back up to where they're staying in the motel room, he just hears Dean like barfing, which I feel like he should just got him back on this. The last time was like Playthings, I think, when Sam was really hungover. Mm-hmm. There should have been some kind of retribution from Sam here because Dean deserves it.
Well, I guess he kind of had that payback with, what was that episode? The zombie one, the Dr. Zombie?
Oh, I know what you mean. Yes.
In season 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he's describing all of like the things while Dean's trying to eat. But I guess it didn't really work in his favour because Dean still ate the burger.
It's true. I do like Dean's line here.
Wishes turned bad, Sam. Wishes turned very bad.
But Dean did find out, in between throwing up, he tells Sam that the coin's Babylonian is cursed. He found some fragments of a legend. The serpent that's on the coin is called Tiamat, who is the Babylonian god of primordial chaos. So basically a trickster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some priests made the coin to sow the seeds of chaos. Because the idea is that if you toss it into a wishing well, the wishing well becomes real, will grant wishes, but then, like, if you grant everyone's wishes, it just leads to, like, ultimate chaos. It's kind of, like, done this historically. Turned whole towns against each other and, like, upside down, and it's been absolutely chaotic. Mm-hmm. Sam sort of says, is there any way to stop it? And Dean's like, yeah, we've got to find the first wisher. Whoever dropped the coin in and made the first wish, they can take it back out. But things are going to get, like, weirder before it gets better. And then the last bit before we go to cut to a break is the teddy bear has written, like, a note on a blackboard, on a children's blackboard, and tries to shoot itself. And it does the whole pan away thing that a singer likes to do, where you normally get like a blood splatter, you get all this stuffing, and all I could see while I was there was like a set guy with like a leaf blower, like vroom, like sending this stuffing, like the Bear Factory guys.
Yeah. I was thinking more of one of those like popper cannons.
Yeah, it's great. And it doesn't work because the teddy like goes back to the teddy and it's like still fine. It's like, why? I mean, that's the last we see of the teddy in this episode.
Yeah, that's very true.
So weird.
No, it's not. Well, kind of.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the big teddy.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this because it's funny, right?
Right.
But it really shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be funny.
And like, I mean, anything can be funny. I will say that. Anything can be funny. But I don't feel like it should be.
I think...
But it's just everything about this, like you said, the special effects guy just like puffing some stuffing.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh no.
Look, I think it's fine. It's dumb humor. It reminds me of like the Doom Patrol stuff. This episode's kind of dropped out of the fandom collective thought, I think. But there was a long time saying this was like the second worst episode after Bugs.
Oh really?
Like this was one of the ones that was like put up on the like the top 10 worst episodes of Supernatural. I feel like the one with depressed Teddy is up there. I think it's for this reason. I don't think it's particularly aged well. I think the weird obsession with women in this episode is super odd, and I think the depressed Teddy is funny, but like again, it hasn't aged very particularly well, and also isn't that funny.
No.
This is one of those ones where you're like, there's 327 episodes, some have got to be misses.
Yeah, exactly. And we had said leading up into season 4 that we knew that they were not going to, because it is now, regular season length, that it wasn't going to, each episode wasn't going to be great.
Yeah.
Because they have to do episodes like this.
Yeah.
They have to fill out the time, and that's okay. Like I'm not angry that it's bad. It's just not good, and you just don't have to watch it again.
I know.
Like,
I'm just like,
there's nothing.
It's kind of dumb.
There's nothing offensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's dumb. It's just it doesn't add anything, and that's fine. It just exists.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it feels very much like the last couple of episodes of season 3, like where we were just like, nah.
What do we call them? The Baba Yaga episodes.
Yeah.
They're filler episodes. They don't really add anything. Why are they here? I mean, this one, again, there's a bit at the end, and then that doesn't really add much to the story, but...
It's a little bit later on. Dean is asleep, and he's having a nightmare about hell. He's woken up by Sam. Dean does the whole thing of like, I'm up. No, I wasn't sleeping. What are you talking about? And as Dean gets out of bed, he reaches down for this whiskey bottle and just like takes a drink.
Yeah.
Sam tries to confront him about it. There's been a lot of subtle looks throughout this whole episode.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning with the shots, Sam would look at what he was doing, and then he saw him take the liquor earlier. And now it's sort of all culminated to this.
The nightmares, the drinking, I'm with you 24/7. I know something's going on.
Echoing the beginning of this episode's conversation, Sam's like, Uriel wasn't lying, but you are. You remember hell, don't you? And then he made this cute, I say cute, line, because Sam's like, well, I just want you to tell me the truth. I'd wish you talked to me. And Dean says, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would really be Sam's wish. And it would be more like, there are so many episodes like this where like a character wishes for another character to tell the truth, and it's just like constant stream of truths rather than like it's. So this is how I would imagine it would go. Like he's saying, just oversharing, let's say.
Yeah. Kind of like, the way that Dean told Andy everything about them. Just like that.
Yeah, exactly like that.
I mean, this is one of the very few times that they ever bring up Dean's drinking. I feel like Sam mentions it when they're having a hard time later on. Like, and it's usually comments like, do you want to chill it with that? Or like, do you want to like put that down or whatever? They don't ever out and out address this because, I mean, Dean's drinking a lot. I mean, I know he just got back from hell, and they want to show it. They haven't really addressed it, But in this episode, they're talking about it being like almost like a coping mechanism, right? To help him deal with the things that he's seeing from hell. And then that just stays through the whole seasons. I mean, he's still drinking in the very last episode of Supernatural. Like, it would have been nice if they'd even just shown that maybe he was making some steps in that direction. Like, had maybe, I don't know, swapped out his beer bottles for like soft drinks or something in the fridge when he goes to get one. Like, that would have been a very subtle nod to the fact that maybe he was addressing that issue in his life. But no, he's still drinking beer in the final episode, you know. This is one thing I really wish they had spent time on, because I think it would have been useful. You know, there are a lot of people who say they kind of, men particularly, have talked about how like seeing Sam and Dean like talk through their feelings and stuff is actually quite helpful to them, because they like have quite, although we think it's like maybe quite poor communication between the brothers, actually compared to what some people have in their lives, it's actually nice to have that constant person there that you can talk to and things. And then I think that have Dean having a very clear issue with alcohol and that not being addressed in the show is not great, you know, for people who do look up to those characters.
Yeah, I mean, Sam gets to deal with his issues with his addiction.
Yeah.
But I mean, even still, it's not done in any kind of good way. It's pretty much like he goes cold turkey and then he's fine, which is not
right.
how it would have happened. So it would have been nice to have seen, like you said, like maybe a gradual decrease in his drinking, and like coming back to the trailer, well, he has a cooler in his car, so obviously that didn't work.
Right. I mean, they have asked this before. I think someone did ask this, and I can't remember who said it. It might have been Jensen. Basically said they didn't have the time to address it. Like, they kind of knew there was something they wanted to do, but didn't have the time to address it. But I'm thinking, like, you didn't need an out-and-out storyline about Dean's alcoholism. You could have had subtle nods to, like, him getting better, and there's times in the show where it clearly gets worse as well, which is, like, realistic, right? And then it would have been nice to kind of see that resolved at the end to whatever purpose. I don't know, I feel like they just kind of forgot, and it became just a character trait of him that everyone accepted and no one commented on anymore. Yeah,
and it's like, I feel like what the argument would have been is, well, how do they celebrate the end of a case now? And that they can no longer have a beer at the end of the case, because obviously if you're a recovering alcoholic, you're not supposed to be around any form of alcohol. So Sam couldn't drink it. But I feel like with Sam being who he is, he would have been 100% behind him. Yeah. So they would have been able to toast with a soft drink at the end of an episode, or like a case.
I mean, I know I have many friends who don't drink at all for various different reasons. Like, you know, that's their own reasons, and why, you know, some people do and why some people don't. And you don't, you know, I mean, we were joking about drinks earlier in the episode. Like, so we are also implicit in this. But like, alcohol is such a big part of like society and stuff. And you're right, that kind of like, celebratory bit of it, that it's almost like around us all the time. But I mean, like, you don't have to drink to have a good time. Like, I know plenty of people who don't drink. Like, I don't know, have something else, have a like cake or like some ice cream, or I don't know, whatever you like. Some people sometimes I have like, if I've had a hard day at work, this is so lame, I'm gonna say massive, if I have, you know, I might just like eat something like a nice apple out of the fridge I'm looking forward to all day. It can be whatever you want it to be. So I don't know,
like it the reward doesn't have to be alcohol, but like it's such a man culture, I guess.
It is. Well, I think that's a bit unfair to just put on men. I feel like it's very much a societal problem.
Yeah, definitely.
We got super deep there for a second. I'm so sorry, but I was like,
no, it's important to bring up, because it is definitely like, it's one of the more humanizing storylines, which they most certainly had time to do.
Yeah.
I feel like they couldn't find a supernatural reason for this story to come up.
Yeah.
So they didn't resolve it, and basically said, Dean's going to handle his alcohol because he's Dean. Because can you imagine? Because I'm trying to think, like, Party on Garth is in season 6?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe
possibly.
7. Is the one where they have to get drunk to see the ghost.
Right, yeah, I remember.
Can you imagine if he'd managed to start to like fix his drinking problem at that point, and he has to do this? How much conflict he would have had over it? Like, I mean, that episode was played for laughs, and I appreciate that it was played for laughs. It's probably one of my favorite episodes. But like to have that sort of serious edge of like, you know, I have to break my sobriety to be able to save people.
Yeah. It could have added an interesting nuance to the episode. But actually, you're dead on, spot on. They don't solve any of their issues unless it's somehow related to the supernatural. Even Sam reconciling in some weird way with John in Lebanon was supernaturally facilitated. There's actually, I cannot think of a single time where they've dealt with an issue that hasn't had some kind of supernatural involvement. I actually can't think of one. I can't think of a single. Guys, can you think of a single? This is actually to the listeners. Can you think of a single time they've dealt with an issue where it hasn't been related in some way to some supernatural thing happening? I'm coming up blank.
And there are 327 episodes, 15 years.
That's wild. I mean, I know the show's called Supernatural. But, okay, fine.
Yeah. I don't know. So they know that they need to find the first person who made the wish in order to remove the coin from the wishing well. And Sam's been doing some research while Dean was asleep. I don't know how much research because they only have a few people. And like, I don't know how long it takes. Because Dean very easily finds the first person because he's like, well, this happened a month ago, so it must be him.
Yeah.
And it's an engagement announcement between a Wesley and Hope.
Was this a Buffy reference? Because there's definitely a Wesley and there's definitely a Hope in Buffy.
You know what? It probably is. So then we cut to Wesley's house, and he's asleep watching like this old TV show. It looks like a Western of some kind. And Hope approaches him and like asks if he's asleep. And she's like, oh, I made you a snack, and like puts down this giant roast dinner basically in front of like a whole roast chicken and all these vegetables and stuff. And it's just like, oh, you know, you didn't have to do that. And Hope's like, well, no, I had to because I love you more than anything. He's starting to kind of realize that maybe this is not as good as he thought it was going to be, because he's like, are you happy? She's like, yeah, well, I love you more than anything. And he's like, yeah, I know, but, you know, can't you just start doing the things that you were doing before, you know, that made you happy? And she's like, oh yes, right away. I'll be really happy for you. It feels like we've seen this kind of situation before in like shows. I can't think of another example outside of like, it's basically a love potion type situation.
Yeah.
Where their victim, because she is very much a victim in this, is obsessed. And she doesn't really know why she's obsessed. You can kind of see her like poke through a little bit, and she's like, oh no, but I love you, stop being angry, like I love you more than anything, but I love you. It's just like, oh god. I
guess the catch is for this that like she's in love with him but lost everything that made him love her, right?
Yes. Yeah.
She's lost all of her personality because it's all about him now. I desperately wanted them to subvert this plot and for it to turn out that although she's acting like this, like super into him and everything, that it was her that had made the wish. I really wanted that to happen in this episode, because you're like, oh yeah, he's kind of a nerdy guy, and like she's obviously a very beautiful woman, and so he must have made the wish because he's like punching way above his weight, like, you know.
Right.
I don't know. I expect it's been a while since I watched this episode. I kind of expected them to somehow subvert it, but no, it was just straight out that storyline.
Yeah, exactly. I think had they done it in a later season, I do think it would have been the opposite way around. Yeah,
because it could have been a big like twist at the end that, you know, she was like, actually, I made the wish because I've watched him from afar for years, and I don't know. It would have still been creepy. It doesn't play into the trope that, I don't know, this kind of like sad loner guy. And it is, isn't it? And it's seen a lot on TV, so it's kind of, I don't know. I wanted them to just break the mold. Yeah, if you're going to be creepy about it, at least be creepy about it in a new and different way. Is that a good thing? I don't know if I do want that.
Or like, yeah, he has more of a personality than she does, so that's where they wouldn't have been able to do that subversion.
Yeah.
Right? Because she is very much, her one focus is him, And we've seen that it turns bad for everybody. So, like, what would be, like, because he can have, like, a normal conversation, not about her.
Yeah. But that's why it would have been interesting, right? Because it looks like he's just getting on with his life and that he's, you know, he's fine. But she's, like, super obsessed with him. And if she'd stayed super obsessed with him after making the wish that they got together, I don't know. It's fine. Like, I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, definitely. As Wes is trying to, you know, get his point across of like, oh no, just be yourself. Like, you don't need to be obsessed with me. Be yourself. The doorbell rings and she's like, oh, I'll get it. You know, I'll be your submissive slave wife. Unconsenting. Sam and Dean approach and like, oh yeah, we're the florists for the wedding. And Hope goes off and is like, oh, I'll get my folders. They're very condescending, rightfully so, because it's creepy. Like, don't do this. I don't think it's ever going to be possible to do this, but don't do this.
Yeah.
Wes has obviously seen them at the restaurant because they were there at the same time. And he's like, oh, I thought you guys were from the health department. And they're like, oh, and florists. And on Thursdays with the FBI. And like, they're basically like outing themselves as like, no, we're here to like stop you. And Dean says, it doesn't matter who we are. What matters is what we know. And Sam has noticed that in this room that there's a whole bunch of coins, like framed coins everywhere. And they were Wesley's grandfather's.
You happen to lose one of those coins lately? And by lose, I mean drop into a wishing well at Lucky Chen's and make a wish on it.
And Wes tries to deny this. And Hope comes in to like basically describe her ideal wedding with flowers and stuff. And Sam sort of interrupts that and he says, you know, well, how did you two meet? Basically, she says, well, you know, I never knew who he was. We were in the same town. We've always been in the same town. Didn't know who he was. But then one day I just saw him and I was like, oh, he's glowing. And I fell in love. Wes asked her to like leave and go make some coffee. They have a really disgustingly drawn out kissy scene. I could not watch it.
It's horrible.
I was like, this is... What makes it worse is obviously because he's trying to pull away so that she can leave. Yeah. But they just keep coming back together and it's just like... So every single time they're making the noise. Oh, I hate it. I don't like watching people kiss on screen because it's always way too close. Yeah. With the added sounds and stuff, it's just like, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, I've never understood that about kissing on screen. Let's just go on a little tangent there. Why do they feel like they have to zoom right into people's faces when they do kiss on screen? Because actually, in my opinion, I think the entire body language is actually the most romantic thing, rather than just watching people like press their faces together.
I completely agree with that. It's just like, who is that shot for? It's not for me. I don't want to see that.
Right.
Who wants to see that? Like, is it for the people that...
Look, cater to me. I think the hand holding is much more intimate than any kind of like kissing you could possibly show on screen. I'm a Victorian lady in my sensibilities. I think illicit hand holding is like, oh my God. And then if you have that kind of like tension between people of like the hand holding and stuff, when they do eventually kiss on screen, we don't need to see a close with their face because we need to see like their whole body language because it all plays into it. Look,
I would much, if you're gonna do like a close up, like I would much rather have a close up of like where like the hand is like touching the face or the neck or the hair, or like that is something that I would much rather see. And I know it's because we both have a hand thing, so maybe that's it.
We're just outing ourselves here horribly. But yeah, it's definitely it. Like,
but like I don't want to see, because nobody kisses like that.
Nobody kisses like that. Hollywood kisses are a sham. The actors who do them know they're a sham because they always joke about how awkward it is and like having to get the angle right and stuff. Like, so yeah, show us the hand on the back of the neck or the cheek or whatever. That's way sexier.
Yeah, and like the arm around the waist or around the shoulder or something like you said, body language for sure. It's just like tell me that they're really into each other without showing me their faces.
Right. Yeah. I need to watch more good movies, but good romance. I'm so off rom-coms. I used to love a rom-com. And then I don't know, I watched some like good movies once, and now I can't watch them again.
Do you know, I can't remember the last rom-com I watched.
The kissing tangent thing, it had to be said. Come on,
Yeah,
directors, listen to us. We know what we're talking about.
Okay, I'm going to bring up something. Do you think they have been physical with each other? Like they've had sex?
Yeah, I do.
That man needs to go to jail.
He needs to go to jail. He should be in jail. He should be in jail.
He should be absolutely in jail because she couldn't consent to any of this.
No, I mean, the only... I say saving grace, it's not... I mean, for her, at least at the end of this episode, she doesn't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
But it's still... That doesn't make it any better.
It does not make it any better. There's I think that's the biggest thing for me in this episode. Like nobody dies in this episode, which is great. Okay, nobody really deserved to die for making wishes, but I do feel like there was no consequences for his actions. Like he would do that again.
Yes,
and that's why he gave the coin over.
And I don't think he would have taken the coin out if Sam and Dean hadn't basically forced him to.
Yeah,
there was no he wasn't really regretting his actions. It just wasn't turning out how he thought it would. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is not a good dude. He deserved a comeuppance.
Yeah.
They could have given him a comeuppance too, because there could have been some consequence for the first person who put that coin in the well, right?
Yes.
Snake god. He should have been eaten by a snake god. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. We've gone really too far. we're not quite there yet, but like we're almost there. It turns out that in amongst the coins, his grandfather knew that this coin was legit and said never to use it. And then when his grandfather died, he was like, you know what? Why not? Sam's like, okay, well, now you have to take your wish back. But he doesn't want to. Wes just does not want to.
Yeah.
Even though it's super awkward between them. Dean says, if you don't, something bad's going to happen.
Something bad. Like us.
I love Sam for that. That's a great line, Sam.
And then Dean's like, sort of, it's not quite as threatening as the previous line, but it's like, we really wish you'd come along with us. Like, they keep making these dumb, like, wish puns, but not real puns.
Yeah.
It's like, they just drop the word in. So they're in the Impala and they're driving back to the restaurant. And Wes is basically throwing a tantrum in the back of the car.
I love this. Not Wes. I love Sam and Dean in this scene because I feel like I had big me and you vibes were on a full rant. Like, I was like, they're on a full rant together at this guy about wishes. And I absolutely loved it. I was like, yes, come on the podcast with us and rant.
So Wes says, my wish came true. Why does that have to be a bad thing? And Sam's like, well, wishes always go south. The town's going insane. Wes is basically being like, woe is me. Like, she didn't even know who I was. It's like, okay, we'll find someone who does know who you are.
Or like, did you ever actually just go and talk to her? Or were you just watching her from afar like a creep? Like,
exactly. Like, go introduce yourself. If you get rejected, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's so... I don't understand. I don't understand.
I don't understand the whole culture. Because I know exactly what you mean about the internet culture around all this. And like, I don't get it, Annabelle.
I don't get it either.
Because I just feel like, I don't know if it's just been the internet just making people a bit like more reluctant to talk to people in person, but all the people I know who are in like successful relationships, who've got married and stuff, have met their partners because some of them are met online, some of them met in person, but it's because they have talked and had like common interests and like got on. It's never been about looks.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like this idea that you have to be with the hot girl.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Why? What do you have in common? Like, what interests do you share that would mean that you would make a good couple? Is it just that she's hot? Because that's not a good enough reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you're annoyed that she's not looking at you because of your looks, but yet the only thing you like about her is her looks.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's fine for you to objectify people, but not for the same anyway. That's a whole nother rant. But like,
yeah.
Also in relationships, like I would say, like attraction is it's important, but it's not the most important thing, especially if you're with someone for a really long time.
Exactly. Like the attraction starts at the beginning of the relationship. Mm-hmm. Like you have to be able to notice each other.
Yeah.
For you to then come together to then form the relationship or like to find out who each other are.
Exactly. And like it's more important that you get on as people, like so much more important. I just love that we also joined in the rant that Sam and Dean are having in this. Just
exactly.
Like I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter actually, Wes. I want to be in that car and be like, yeah, Wes.
I just want to smack him in the face and just be like, you know what? I'm going to throw you out of this goddamn car. That's the comeuppance that you're going to get. Dean's like, you're not supposed to get what you want. Nobody is. That's what the coin does. It takes your heart's desires and twists it back on you. You heard the whole phrase, be careful what you wish for. We hear this noise and Sam's like, did you just hit something? And Dean says, well, I didn't see anything. And we cut to the invisible guy and he's just been like sideswiped by the Impala, which I guess is where his like, there's a few people who we don't really get to see the twist that much. Like, I understand with this, it's showing that maybe he's starting to lose control over his invisibility, but then again, he's naked. So he doesn't have to walk around naked.
Yeah.
And someone will be able to see him. But yeah, like, you know, being hit by a car is definitely a possibility when you can't be seen.
Yep.
Wes sort of mocks them and says, you know, well,
careful what you wish for. You know who says that? Good-looking jerks like you guys. The ones who got it so easy because you happen to be handsome.
Again, proving our point of like, yeah, these guys are good looking, but their lives are a mess.
They're a mess. Like, you don't want to live their lives.
Not at all. Like, do you want to be fighting demons and monsters and all this stuff every day of the week? No.
Yeah, exactly. And like, neither of them can have a long-term relationship. We've seen that already multiple times. That they are just, there's too much going on. There's too much.
And it's literally just about sex. That's basically what it's about. Because Wes says, like, they're like easy. And Wes is like, yeah, you know, women look at you. That's what he means by you have it easy. It's like, well, that's not how they took it. They were like, well, our lives are not easy.
Dean, this line could just sum up Supernatural. I love it.
We are miserable. We never get what we want. In fact, we have to fight tooth and nail just to keep whatever it is we got.
But you know what? Maybe that's the whole point, Wes.
Dean.
They do, and they still lose it.
They still lose it.
And like, it is very much like us, like going off on a rant because they're not even including him in this anymore. They're just like,
yeah, people are people because they're miserable bastards because they never get what they really want.
Right, yeah, you get what you want, you get crazy.
Take a look at Michael Jackson, or Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff is maybe I think he's all right. Isn't he? Did he get crazy? What happened to David Hasselhoff?
I think he had a crazy moment in like the early 2000s.
Okay, fine.
Wes is like, you know what? It doesn't matter because Hope loves me and it's awesome. Like, I got what I want and nothing's going crazy. Like, look around. There's nothing insanity. What are you talking about? And then it cuts to this little boy who flips over a car with the bullies inside. And he has his Superman moment that we all know.
Yeah.
Kneel before Todd! Kneel before Todd, yeah.
I love it so much. I love they chose the tiniest little boy they could find. He's so sweet looking. They're like, oh, he's so sweet looking. He's just like, nah. I bet that kid had the best day ever acting that. Yeah.
Definitely. I hate what they did in the next scene with him though. Like, really? Dean? This is what you resort to? Yeah.
I didn't mind it as much. We'll see. So we have a break and then we cut to Todd and he's still kind of like bothering. He's still like pushing the car and stuff. And Dean gets out to go deal with this. He's like, I'll handle Todd. You get Wes to Lucky Chins, go. Dean's like, hey kid, can I talk to you? Like he's being his like sweet Dean with kids. Like this normally works because he's a cool guy that kids look up to. That's how I feel like Dean thinks that in his head of himself. He's like, I'm so cool. I would have looked up to me when I was young. With my car. What's really funny is like, why would he think this? He already insulted him by saying, run, Forrest, run. And then like when he was confronted earlier, he was like, well, no. Yeah, backed off that kid. That's true. Dean says like, look, I get it. You know, they're bullying you. And Todd said it was every day. You don't know what it's like. And Dean's like, well, no, I don't actually. I don't feel like Dean was bullied as a child because they weren't in one place for long enough to them everyone to bother.
I'm sure he had the like prison mentality of like, I've got to take down the biggest kid and then they'll leave me and Sam alone.
Yeah, no one would have messed with Sam, like, at all. Todd says that he couldn't stop them, but Audrey told him that the wishing well worked. And Dean's like, yeah, fine, they're mean, but they don't have superpowers. And he says the Spider-Man line of, with great power comes great responsibility. And then it gets whacked by this child. So hard.
It's great. It's wonderful. I do love it.
I love it. It's amazing. I love him getting decked by this child. Is great. It is, everything.
I would love to have been on set to see that because like you said, this boy is really, really small and Dean has to get like really low. So like to have to act being punched up into the air from such a low point in the ground.
I bet it looks real good. Yeah.
The wire work.
So Sam and Wes pull up to the restaurant and Wes is like, that kid turned over that car. And Sam's like, yeah, you should have seen the teddy bear. Let's go. Like, not having it. Wes does say, like, why can't we just get what we want? And Sam's like, well, that's life. You don't get what you want. Every time they said you don't get what you want, I just thought back to Cass saying, good things do happen, Dean. Oh! Yeah.
Well, so there's the difference between getting what you want and good things happening.
Yes, there is, yeah.
Because what you want might not necessarily be good for you.
That's true. Oh, that's some deep things, Annabelle. That's deep. I feel like Sam and Dean have some good karma in the bank that never really comes true. They built up that karma and they never really see it all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because it got all lost in the lucky coin episode.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, as Sam says, like, that's life, a lightning bolt just hits him and he flies out of his shoes.
Yes. They make a very big... It's the shoe that he lost.
It's the same shoes. It's definitely the same shoes. I went to a convention recently and I just would like to shout out the incredible people that dressed up as Sam's lost shoe. They had a giant shoe costume on. I was like, I'm Sam Winchester's lost shoe. It's beautiful.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So into the restaurant we go, and Hope is stood by the wishing well. She had clearly overheard everything they were talking about in their house because they'd spoken it like she wasn't there, so rude, first of all, and also underestimating her intelligence. And she said that she had to do it because they were going to make him wish away their love because she has really no control of her actions at this point. She thinks that she's trying to save them. We cut back to Dean, and Dean punches a child.
Yeah.
Which, he's like, I really don't want to do this. And it's like, don't then.
He really didn't have to.
He really didn't have to. But I mean, it has no effect. Like, literally, Dean hurts himself. And then Todd starts to choke out Dean, because he just punched his child or tried to punch his child.
I think it's funny, like, because usually when they do like a choke out scene, like usually the whole hand can wrap around the throat, but it's literally just like tiny hand.
I bet Jensen had loads of fun acting with this like small child actor. Like, come on, man, choke me. Oh. Again, back at the restaurant, Wes is like, you wished a man dead. Presumably Sam's dead. He's not dead. He just got hit by lightning, right?
You can die from that.
Oh, he can die from it, but he can't be dead. That's pretty funny if he is dead. No, hear me out. Because it means they both died getting electrocuted at one point. I don't know why that's funny. Also, what happens to Sam when Sam dies? Do you think Sam's just like a ghost now watching this happen? Anyway... Hope's saying that she loves Wes more than anything. And he's like, stop saying that, stop it. Because I think he's finally realising that this is it now. Like, this is her whole personality, is that she loves him and there's nothing else going on. And he says that he's going to make it okay. And he does take the coin out of the fountain. We see Todd lose his strength and Dean gets let go. Sam wakes up to presumably isn't dead. Interesting it has that power if he does just come back from the dead. And we go back to Dean and Todd, and Dean's going to help this kid out with the bullies. So he basically act scared in front of this kid, like, okay man, okay, like and then says like, I wouldn't mess with this kid. It's very theatrical and I love it. And then in the restaurant we see Wes and Hope, and Wes calls out to her and she says, do I know you? And leaves. So yeah, she doesn't remember anything, which is probably a blessing for her. And a dejected... I was just reading it now. But Wes gives the coin to Sam and also leaves. Again, no comeuppance. He should have got comeuppance.
Yeah, like, they could have written it into the, like, lore of the coin that, like, once you remove the coin, like, you have 7 days. I don't know. Or something like that. Like, I do feel like there should have been more of a consequence for getting what you wanted.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. I guess the consequence would have eventually been your whole town getting destroyed, but you take the coin out and there's nothing. I don't know. Because you kind of messed with Tiamat's plan, right? So Tiamat should eat you. Mm-hmm. Snake God would have been cool. Yeah.
I mean, even... Is... Wes should have died. Yeah. Like, can you imagine... Well, I was going to say, can you imagine if they had warned Wes of, like, saying, you know, making that wish has been, like, your death sentence, but then he wouldn't have taken the coin out.
That's true, yeah. I think they would have told him.
Like, he wouldn't have sacrificed himself.
No. That's what I mean. They should have just had, right, this... Hear me out. He should have taken the coin out, and there should have been a big snake that came out of the fountain and ate him, and Sam should have acted surprised.
And the coin would have been left on the ground for the next person to pick it up and make a wish.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that would have been the rewrite. Rewrite. Because, like, we know that Ben Edlund, again, like, can make sympathetic characters but still have consequences, like in Monster Movie.
Yeah.
He got what he wanted and we felt sympathy because, you know, he was a shifter who didn't know his place. Mm-hmm. But the object of his desire, which was the woman, then shot him because he was a crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is exactly the same situation, but he got to just live his life dejected. Oh, well.
Yeah, he's
not any different. He's still jobless because, you know, he's unemployed.
Yeah.
So, he's not going to change his life around. Maybe he will, but we don't see it. Unlikely because he didn't get what he wanted. It's just like, maybe he learned to talk to women.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe this... I don't know. No, I don't think this was a good ending.
No.
Fine.
No, not a good ending whatsoever. Giant snake out the fountain, nom nom nom.
That would have been cool. And unexpected and interesting.
Or Hope was like the the avatar of the...
Yeah. Hope was Tiamat all along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She turns into a giant snake and nom nom nom.
Yeah. I just want a giant snake. It's too much to ask.
Not at all. Not at all. I think that's fine. So, we're outside on this really nice pier. Like, again, some of these environmental shots are really, really nice.
Yeah, they are nice.
This is definitely one of them. And Dean, again, is reading the newspaper. All of the wishes that had come true are being reverted. We see that on the paper, the lottery ticket was found to be a fake. Audrey is walking with her parents who are badly sunburned. Like, 3rd-degree burns, sunburned, like blistered.
We don't know where in Bali they were dropped. Like,
that's true.
Could have been in the middle of nowhere and they had to, like, find their way back or survive.
Yeah, definitely. Audrey is now carrying a normal-sized bear, but it's like, head stuffing with, like, coming out of the back.
Aww.
I guess she's a little girl, so she wouldn't want to throw away her teddy bear, but, like, wouldn't you be terrified of that bear? Like...
Well, think about it from her point of view. Some teddy bear doctors came to her house and said your teddy bear's sick, and then she would have come back and found a normal sized teddy bear that looks like it's hurt, so she just finished the job.
That's true.
Yeah, it was fine for her.
That's true. That is very true. I'm assuming this has been like maybe a day or so
Yeah, I think so.
Because Sam comes up to Dean and says the coin's melted down. It shouldn't cause any more problems. But then again, we know that metal and supernatural melts very, very quickly, as in Hookman.
I mean, if this was gold, it wouldn't be too hard.
It looked like a silver.
Oh, I thought it was.
It's probably like a cheap metal coin. I imagine.
don't know. If it's Babylonian, it probably was gold.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I said that with like full confidence. I don't know that. But like,
Well, just because like when it's in the fountain and like they're trying to pick it up, it looks like a silver coin. So
that's weird. Look, silver's got a fairly low melting point. It's kind of. I know we've argued about the very low melting point in Hookman and that it melted way too quickly. But if he had like a blowtorch or something, he definitely could melt it.
That's true. That's true. I mean, and there's also, if you go to any like We Buy Gold shops, I'm pretty sure they have like a metal smelter.
Yeah.
If you even went to like a welding place, I'm pretty sure they'll have something that they can melt it pretty fast. Dean points out that, you know, Audrey's parents are back from Bali and it looks like all the other wishes are gone and so are we. And then they start to walk off and Dean admits that Sam was right. I love the fact that Sam's like, about what? As in, like, Sam's right about everything all the time.
I think Sam thinks that Sam is.
Yeah, that's true. And Dean clarifies and saying, like, I shouldn't have lied to you. I do remember everything that happened in hell, everything that happened to me in the pit, everything. Sam encourages him to talk about it. And Dean says, just straight up, no.
You really think that a little heart-to-heart, some sharing and caring is going to change anything? Huh? Or somehow heal me? I'm not talking about a bad day here.
And then he ends on a really heavy note of, like, the things I saw there aren't words.
There is no forgetting. There's no making it better.
Because it's right here and it taps his head forever. You wouldn't understand.
And I could never make you understand. So I am sorry.
Yeah. Dean's wrong. I think talking about it with Sam would probably help him a little bit. It's kind of like he doesn't want to like freak him out, you know?
If he doesn't want to talk about it with Sam, he needs to talk about it with somebody.
Yeah. You think he'd be able to talk about it with Cass later on because they do become friends, and if anyone's going to understand, it would be Cass because he went to hell and saw hell there.
Cass is not going to judge him.
Exactly. Like, we already know he thinks he's like the most amazing person ever. So like would be like, well, you know, it wasn't your fault you went to hell. Be a sympathetic ear, I guess. I like to think that Cass and Dean do talk about hell and process it a little bit.
If anybody, it could have been Crowley.
True.
If anybody.
Maybe during Dean and Crowley's summer of love, he finally processed some of his trauma from hell. Maybe.
Because that would have been great. That would have been
great, actually.
I think it's fair that Dean doesn't want to burden Sam with all of the details of hell. And I don't think it's fair to burden Sam with all the details, especially since we know Sam's a little judgy.
He's a little judgy.
I feel like had he known everything that he did, he wouldn't take it well.
But there would be some understanding there about why Dean is so against him going down like a dark path.
That's
right?
true.
It could have provided some context to how Dean feels about that and might have been helpful. But I mean, again, it's up to Dean whether or not he wants to talk about it with Sam and who. But yeah, he needs to talk about it. There does come a point in the seasons, though, where Sam gets back from the cage, where they definitely have an understanding of like the kind of trauma that they've both been through, that they could have worked through that a bit better together. But I mean, is it on brand? Like we said, they don't talk about anything unless it's supernatural related. They don't deal with anything. So unless they were forced to confront those issues by something, they're not going to do it themselves. Yeah,
and like, I mean, they kind of do it. You know, we're coming up to On the Head of a Pin.
Annabelle.
But it's not dealt with in the correct way.
I I'm counting that as supernatural intervention of dealing with that.
Yeah.
Cass counts as supernatural entity, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, this episode exists. It's bad. And that's it. We don't have to ever watch it again.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to leaving this one behind me. Interesting. Yeah, I know, for a Bedland episode. Disappointing. But we did get to learn that Dean remembered hell, so, you know, they're worth that.
We already knew that he did. He just admitted it on screen.
That's true, yeah. We finally got to see him tell Sam, and Sam did the, like, worried face. End of episode.
End of episode. And it ends with, like, another pullback, like a slow pullback, and it's just like, why the lamp? Why did it stop on the lamp? Is it like a wishing lamp? Is that what it is?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just projecting. Like,
No. You just reminded me that I never really talked through lamp theory with you, and that's a whole conversation for another day. I don't think it applies in this case, but it's pretty funny. Yeah, so what's the next episode, Annabelle?
So the next episode is I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, I watched that actual movie way too young as a child. It really freaked me out.
I have not seen it. I'm planning. I have it saved on my HBO. Oh no, Netflix. Because I do want to watch it because I have a feeling it's absolutely awful. It's got like a young Sarah Michelle Gellar.
All I remember is Seth Green's face in a bucket of crabs. That's the only bit I remember from that movie. It'll mean nothing.
In a bucket of crabs?
In a bucket of crabs. Yeah.
All right.
I haven't watched that since I was maybe 8 years old, and I have a very clear memory of that crab bucket.
Yeah, that's way too young.
Yeah, that's way too young.
Watching at 8?
I should not have been watching that movie. I was like...
That's like a full-on slasher movie. Like, what?
Yeah, I know. It was one of those situations, you know, where you're at a friend's house, and they're like, oh, let's watch something that we're definitely not supposed to be watching. So we went and, like, stole it from downstairs and, like, watched it on VHS.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it fully freaked me out. Scarred for life. Crab bucket.
Crab bucket. Cool. I'm gonna try and watch the movie before I watch this episode, because why would they name it after that? Because I'm guessing it's the movie reference.
Yeah, I don't remember this episode, so I don't know if they're just straight out and out doing I Know What You Did Last Summer. Maybe I'll rewatch it too. It might heal some childhood trauma.
Maybe. It may be just because it's going to be like slasher-ish. So at the end of the episode, we would like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you would like to purchase it on a bag, on stickers, on pins, and all that kind of stuff, you can visit our Redbubble store, pick something up, and a portion of the profits will go to him as a thank you for designing it for us. You can also find us everywhere on the internet, Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. Search for Escaping Purgatory Podcast or Escaping Podcast on Twitter. And come say hi.
Yeah. So this episode, we came across a really dodgy looking well. I thought I saw a snake climb out of it. So we kind of just left it alone. So next week, hopefully we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.